Hello, everyone, and welcome to the official Lost Video podcast hosted by ABC.com. As some of you who listen to the audio podcast know, we recently asked for fans to submit questions to come onto the podcast and ask them to the executive producers in video form. You guys answered in droves. You asked the same 3 questions. It was amazing, but that's okay. We went through and we selected the best of the bests, and we brought them onto the show. Or did we select the worst of the worst? That's up to you to decide. In any case, it's all in promotion for our next new episode coming up on Thursday, April 24th. It's entitled Shape of Things to Come and airs at its new time, 10 p.m. Eastern on ABC, and the next day at abc.com. Start fresh. So here now are executive producers Damon, Lindelof, and Carlton, Cuse to take questions from the fans, by the fans, and for the fans. Because really, who else is watching this podcast besides my mom?
Well, hi, Damon.
Hi, Carlton.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
It's good to see you, and it's good for everyone else to see you, too.
I wouldn't go that far. It's not good to see me, but I am here regardless.
And we're here to do a video podcast for you guys. And what is going to be a little bit different about today's podcast is we're going to basically have video questions from you guys, the fans, that have been submitted. And Chris has gathered them together and is actually going to surprise us with these questions. So this is actually, even though they're pre-recorded, this is actually very spontaneous.
Unless we don't like your question, in which case we'll just be like, edit it out.
Hey, Damon and Carlton. My name is Jeanette from Connecticut, and I had a question for you guys. By the way, I love Lost, and you guys are doing an awesome job. My question is, as far as the smoke monster goes, I was wondering, is it controlled by the island, or is it something that the others in some way are controlling the smoke monster? So that's my question. Thanks a lot.
All right, well, thank you for your question, Jeanette.
From Connecticut.
Yes, and we were...
Not to be confused from Jeanette from West Virginia, who's entirely different in many ways.
But it was slightly disconcerting. Your voice was a little like off from the picture, a little bit like a Conan movie. But still a
That's
good question. That's
not a bad thing. If anything, like a Conan movie is a good thing.
You could be elected governor of a major state, actually.
Like Connecticut.
That's true, exactly.
I hear New York has an opening. In any case, it's the tri-state area. So,
as you can see, we were dodging any answer about the smoke monster.
But we can say that in episode 9, The Shape of Things to Come, your question will be answered.
Well, to some degree. You probably won't be fully satisfied, but you're going to see Smokey in 409.
You will learn something more about Smokey and about the control of Smokey in 409.
Right.
If there is any.
That's correct.
A character might say, "We have no control over Smokey."
You might.
In which case, your question would be answered.
Hi guys, I'm Jenna. I'm a big fan of the show. I have a quick question for you regarding the last episode. Did Ben intentionally send Alex, Carl, and Danielle into the jungle to go to the sanctuary because he knew that there were people waiting out there for them?
Her lips didn't move at all.
No,
It's just a sort of a still of her, like it's some sort of formal event.
She was very, very careful not to move during that.
She's absolutely still.
In terms of a video podcast question, Chris,
And
I'm going to say, that's not really advanced technology. I'm going to say that was actually a photograph, wasn't it? I know you tried to pass it off as a video,
unless
but
she's
it was a
good
photograph.
ventriloquist. Well, that's the question. That's the $64,000 question. When Ben sent them, going off into the jungle, were they captured by the others? Would the others literally kill Rousseau and Carl because we know that Ben had a grudge against both of them, or have they been captured by somebody else?
Right, because there's those guys on the freighter who were shooting guns, and they're in play. So who are those guys? Why are they shooting guns? What's their role? That might be something that you'll learn in 409 as well. Carlton,
will we learn it in 409? Will we know by the end of 409 whether or not they've been killed by the others or killed by somebody else?
Yes, we will.
Thank you. That's all Jenna wanted to know.
Well, no, she actually wants to know if Ben maliciously sent them to their death.
Do you think that picture was Jenna?
No.
Because on my MySpace page, I put up like a picture of like this incredibly attractive person who is not me.
Is it a girl?
No, it's not.
Hey Damon and Carlton, I'm Kat French, Coffee Cup Cat on the ABC message boards, and I just want to tell you guys are doing a great job on Lost. It's my favorite show ever, and I have a question for you. Since as of Meet Kevin Johnson, Danielle is allegedly dead, are we ever going to get the promised Danielle flashback? Are we ever going to find out if her last name is really Rousseau or if she just swiped some guy's jacket? And are we ever going to find out what happened with Montanda and his arm? Inquiring minds want to know.
Wow.
So, in short, are we ever going to get any closure on Danielle's backstory? Thanks, and you're doing a great job.
Oh, well, thank you, Kat.
Thanks, Kat.
That was nice.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You will know definitively what Rousseau's fate was next week, very close to the beginning of the 10th episode, Something Nice Back Home.
Right.
We will answer whether or not she is alive or dead.
Correct.
That being said,
That
you
doesn't really
probably
make a
haven't
difference.
seen the last of the character Danielle Rousseau,
Yeah.
because
Being dead on our show isn't really...
it's only just the beginning.
It doesn't really make a difference. You could still work. You can still have your story told.
Rousseau's tale and the sickness and Montand and Robert,
Yeah.
who she shot, just feels like we've heard so much about it. It feels like it would be neglectful of us not to revisit it at some point. But we talked about Montand's arm before, and aside
We've
from being
spent hundreds of hours in the writer's room talking about Montand's arm. I mean, sometimes there are weeks that go by where we do nothing but discuss Montand's arm.
college bands, attention, Montand's arm is the most awesome name for your band. So if you want to take it, it's all yours.
Okay.
Hey guys,
Oh, here we
it's
go.
Robbie.
Just want to say, love the podcast. Although I do think you should be a little bit nicer to Chris because his voice is the heart and soul of the show. Anyway,
This is
I
your
was
brother, isn't
wondering
it?
which camp, Jack or Locke, that some of the lesser-known castaways went with, such as Steve or Scott, whichever one's alive still, and Neil Frogert. Also, given the choice, which camp would Ezra James Sharkington and Juke the orangutan go with?
Ooh,
Thanks, guys, and keep up the great work.
wow. Those are some hard-hitting. Robbie is sort of the Mike Wallace of the podcast set. I feel a little bit like I'm in the hot seat right now.
You do.
So where should we start? I think we
Let's start with Frogert.
Yeah, let's start with Frogert. Frogert stayed with Jack. He's
Yeah.
a very loyal.
Jack supporter.
Yeah, you'd think that Frogert would go with Locke, but he hates Hurley so much that once Hurley sort of declared his intentions, I think.
I'm out of there. I'm not going with Locke.
He stayed with Jack.
Ezra, James Sharkington.
Oh, I think we should just cover Steve or Scott. Steve is dead. Scott is alive.
Are you sure?
I'm not.
No,
I always
I think
forget.
Scott is dead.
Steve is alive. And I think he went with Locke.
Yeah. He's not much for Jack. He also doesn't really like the beach, and he wanted to go live in a nice house in New Other.
In a story that we will never see, I think he still
Right.
holds Jack responsible for Scott's death. Wait, Steve is
Exactly.
alive? And also, since he asked about Chris, who is supposedly the
voice, the heart and soul of the
show.
podcast.
Chris, why don't you tell us where you think Ezra James Sharkington would end up? Where would he go, with Locke or with Jack?
The beach.
The beach.
Yeah, that's true. I never really thought about it that way. And so Jupe would go where?
With Locke.
Wrong. Wrong. Now we're like in the McLaughlin group. Heart and soul of the show. Moving on, Jack Germondo.
Hey, Damon and Carlton.
Hi, Ryan.
I'm Ryan Wilson, and I would like to know about Mrs. Hawking. We last saw her in season 3 talking to Desmond about time. She kind of freaked me out when she first you can't buy the ring, Desmond. And so I was just wondering. Also, later in the season, you also saw her on the picture on that monk's desk, and she was with that monk. So I was wondering if we're going to be seeing her again sometime soon on the show, maybe season 4, season 5. And Carlton, one thing, I like that banjo playing, but you might want to get a mandolin instead.
Oh, wow, that's a good...
Nice.
First off, a clarification, it's Ms. Hawking, not Mrs. Hawking, so she's unmarried, and that answers...
I think Ryan would be very happy about
Yeah.
that, as he's
She's
very,
available.
very obsessed
Yeah.
with Miss Hawking.
Yeah.
And I especially enjoyed the impersonation of Miss Hawking, which just had nothing to do with her being English. It just meant lowering your voice.
Yeah, oddly, I think Finola Flanagan will be wanting Ryan's
You
home
cannot
address.
buy that ring.
Yes, you can. I will not do an English accent, but I have a much lower voice than an adult male.
She's kind of a Doc Brown character. You need those kinds of characters to explain things, particularly in complicated Desmond time travel-like episodes. In The Constant, Faraday played kind of the same role narratively for us.
You're dodging the question, Carlton.
I am dodging
She's
the
in a
question.
picture in a monk's office before Desmond even meets Penny.
I think Ryan is concerned that she took up with the
I
monk
want to know,
instead of
explain
him.
it. Why is her arm around a monk? Are we going to find out?
Yes.
Okay, that's all he
Are
wanted
we?
to know.
No, we probably won't.
No, I think I would bet.
We probably won't.
I would bet a farthing. Is that less than a shilling? Do they even use farthings anymore?
I think farthings are out of
I would bet
circulation.
a quince pence. Is that a unit?
Sure.
I would bet you 4 quince
There's some
pence.
euro quinpence.
Yes, I would bet 9 quince pence and half a farthing that we will see Miss Hawking again.
Okay. All right. That's good. Well, thanks for joining us here for another edition of the Official Lost podcast starring Chris White.
And for those of you who ask why we don't do video podcasts more often, now you understand. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.